And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network dedicated to covering IU women's basketball. This is our 90th episode overall, recorded on Sunday, December 10th, 2023. Can you believe, Jeff, we're closing in on 100 already?
I know, let alone the end of 2023.
Yeah, that too. So welcome, everyone. I am your host, Kathy Amos. I am joined today by my co-host, Jeff Marlow. And today we will be breaking down your number 16, number 15 Indiana Hoosiers 66-56 win from yesterday over the Rutgers Scarlet Knight. That win brings the record to 8-1 overall, and they've now opened up Big Ten play and are 1-0 in conference play. But as usual, we will start our show with the Hoosier Proud banner moment. And Jeff, for me, I'm going to go to around 20 seconds left in the third quarter. Rutgers had been, hanging around. In fact, they were up after the first quarter, and, they weren't going to be shy about playing a ranked team coming into their house. But around 20 seconds left in that third, we had a field goal go up that was missed. Sydney went and grabbed the offensive rebound, just really hit the boards hard, tried to put a shot up. She missed it. Matt came in, got a second offensive rebound on that possession, and was able to put it back up to have the Indiana Hoosiers go up 49-39. Now, this was our first double-digit lead of the entire game late into the third quarter. And it wasn't very long because probably about 9 seconds later, Rutgers went down on the other end and scored. But I thought really more important than the double-digit lead was just the example to me of how I thought Sydney and McKenzie both played really hard and really tough yesterday on both ends of the floor. And that play to me was really an example of how their play led the team in toughness yesterday. Both of them fighting for those offensive rebounds, which have been, kind of not coming to us in great numbers this year so far. But they really hit those boards hard together. And then McKenzie being able to go up through contact and finish through that play, I thought was really indicative of both of their plays from yesterday. And so for me, that was our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And as always, our banner moment is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, the presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network, which also includes the Assembly Call and Crimson Cast. Homefield is constantly releasing new schools or updating their products for schools in their existing line. So you're bound to find something for you or anyone in your life that loves great collegiate gear. In fact, right now they're trying to make more room, I think, for their existing line by having all kinds of very deep discounted mystery boxes coming out. So for today, as an example, my husband and I just ordered 2 mystery box hoodies that were, I think, 45% off the normal cost of a hoodie. So keep an eye out. Yeah.
Sorry not to interrupt you. I haven't been on there today.
Yeah. So I got an email and we ordered that while we were eating breakfast this morning. So looking forward to getting that. I have no idea what team we'll get. Obviously, with a mystery box, it's up to Home Field on what they think they have in excess. So that's what you'll be getting. But I've seen a few of those mystery boxes coming out this week. So keep an eye out there on Twitter, or you can sign up for their email as well. And not only do you get great quality apparel, but you are supporting an Indiana-based business that has its roots in the Kelley School of Business. So go to homefieldapparel.com. And if it's your first time, use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off of your entire first order. Again, that promo code is HOME23 for 15% off. And the website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. All right, so let's hit just a couple quick news headlines before we delve into the game, Jeff. So before I turn it over to you, I had 3 quick news that we wanted to kind of touch on. So first, which also could have probably been our banner moment, yesterday's win for Coach Morin was her 100th Big Ten victory yesterday. Afterwards, in the press conference, Sydney Parish announced she would return next year to use her COVID year of eligibility, and not necessarily Indiana University per se related, but still tangentially, I think something this audience would like to know is that the Indiana Fever also won the lottery today and will have first pick in the draft next year. So with that, Jeff, what are your Marlow's musings for today?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the impact of the draft lottery there, because if she comes out, if she comes out, Caitlin Clark is the number 1 pick. and you pair her up with a Grace Berger and an Aaliyah Boston and a couple of the other players that the Fever already have, you could see them get very good very quickly. But let's face it, she probably it's going to be a tough one because she's got more NIL money more than likely at Iowa. I think when we had Kyle on one time with us, Kathy, Kyle made the comment that she was like the highest paid athlete at Iowa and NIL money. Now she's doing State Farm commercials.
Yep.
So, but good for the Fever. I think, for those of us who've kind of followed the Fever since they were founded and had that nice, solid run with Tamika Catchings and Katie Douglas and some of those others winning titles, going to the finals a couple times. That was, that was fun to see that. And they've fallen off here the last few years, but you can see them kind of getting the foundation back in place. And then just shout out, huge shout out to Terry Moore to win 100 Big Ten games for any coach, but for a women's coach at Indiana to win 100 Big Ten games. I think a lot of us would have been like, yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see that in our lifetime, but it just, again, speaks to the program that Coach Moore has built. It speaks to the fact that she sees Indiana as that, as what was her destination job. She didn't see it as a place that comes to for a few years, get some success and move on. And I think the Sydney news, to me, is really huge for next year because there's going to be some turnover in the roster next year. We know Max using up her last year now. And so there'll be some youth on this team and some inexperience, and Sydney being back is going to be a huge part of helping bridge that a little bit. Some talent there, and there's some talent coming, but it's just the fact that, Sydney gives that a little bit of a bridge as well. As far as the game yesterday, slugfest on the road in the Big Ten. Was it as pretty, as nice, and was it the dominant performance we would have liked to have seen? No, but at the end of the day, they went on the road in the Big Ten and got a win. And we've talked about this before, Kathy, and it kind of goes back to that old philosophy. And it really kind of started on the men's side. Coach Knight might have been even one of the first to say it, win your home games and then steal as many as you can on the road. The more wins you get on the road, the better chance you have of being there at the end, possibly winning at the Big Ten title. So that gives them a leg up, from that standpoint early on. And now they don't play another Big Ten game until after, New Year's Eve. They play Illinois on New Year's Eve. So, a lot of things here between the news and the way the kid, and I thought your banner moment was spot on. And I got another one I'll talk about a little bit when we get to the pivotal plays. But I thought that banner moment really, outside of Coach Moore and possibly, I thought I thought that play that was huge in terms of kind of getting the momentum really going toward the fourth quarter.
Yeah, me too. It was a great way to end that third quarter. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it then, Jeff? Let's talk about some pivotal or some important plays that we saw. So do you want to go ahead and go first? And what do you got written down from yesterday?
Well, I'm going to go to the one that I kind of thought about as well for the banner moment. If I was going to pick out specific play, and that's at the end of the first half. Chloe Moore McNeil in a half where we didn't play all that well, didn't shoot it. We're down one at the end of the first quarter, but it had kind of clawed and scratched our way into a small lead. But Chloe Moore McNeil hits a shot right at the end of the half, basically, and it stretches that lead out. I think it went from 3 to 5. I'm trying to remember what the first. I've gone brain dead here.
Yeah, we were
went from
up by
3
5.
to 5. Yeah, it went from 3 to 5. To me, that's a huge play because you hit that shot, you're going in with a little bit, not swag, but your shoulders are up a little bit more, your head's up a little more, and so I really thought that was a pivotal play in the game.
Yeah, I remember that play, and I absolutely agree. For me, I'm going to actually go to the other end of that same quarter. So, at the first quarter, we were down by 1. It was 9-10. It wasn't real pretty basketball. Rutgers hit that shot right at the end of the first quarter to go up into that timeout, up by 1. And coming out of the timeout into the second quarter, I thought there was just some really nice adjustments again by Coach Moore and the staff. So we had the after timeout. Immediately you saw Sydney driving for 2 to put us up 11-10, got a stop on the other end, came back down on the second play. Chloe Moore McNeil drives for 2. And then the third one, we had Lexi come in. She drove down. She didn't shoot, but she found Mac. Mac went for 2. And we had a nice stretch there at the beginning of the second quarter where, the shots really weren't falling really all day, to be honest, but it definitely in the first quarter. And so I liked the adjustment to try to move away from maybe trying to have so many jump shots to rather driving the ball. And I thought those 3 back-to-back plays were quite pivotal because you could see kind of a shift in what we were trying to do in trying to drive the ball more and maybe initiate contact or get some easier baskets at the hoops. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that kind of beginning to that second quarter where we kind of opened up a bit of a lead there after being down.
I thought that was huge. And I think if I remember right in that sequence, we even got a 3 even in there somewhere. But I can't remember if it was Sarah or if it was Sydney who hit a 3 in that sequence. I didn't write it down, but I thought that was a huge sequence because, again, you were on the road and you were trailing. So, the momentum's against you a little bit. So with that, I'm going to go back also, Kathy, at the same point. I'm going to go jump ahead. I think it was in the fourth quarter. Yeah, in the fourth quarter. And she didn't have a great day shooting the ball. And that's Yarden. But we got a situation where, and if I'm trying to remember right, it might have been Sydney who made the dish to her, but we got the ball to Yarden right around the elbow, and she knocked down a jump shot that I think pushed it back up to like 9 or 10. I didn't write down the score in sequence as I was rewatching the game this morning, but that to me was a huge shot because Yarden's such an important part of the team, and she's been struggling shooting the ball. And we know that there's probably way more things going on for her than simply basketball. But when you were used to Yarden kind of just hitting shot after shot after shot last year, but to hit that shot there, when you kind of had the feeling that Rutgers might be about to make a run, and she knocks down that shot at the elbow, it's kind of like, no, we're not going to let them back in here. So that again, kind of that takes it. You talked about the one with Mac at the end of the third quarter, but there was that point there in the fourth quarter. I thought Yarden had a nice stretch as well. And I think it started with that jump shot.
Yeah, I do too. And, again, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more when we get to notable numbers, but the shots just weren't really falling yesterday, right? Our 3-point shot for sure wasn't there, even struggling with some of the twos and maybe even around the rim. But I thought the hustle of the team and the focus of the team was there all day. I never felt like they were playing overly sloppy, except maybe a little bit in the first quarter, where we had a couple turnovers in the first 2 possessions, 2 offensive possessions. We turned it over, but after that, we kind of righted the ship. But we had great hustle. Again, at the end of that first quarter, with about a minute and a half or so to go, Sarah, again, not her best game offensively in terms of, production, but she hustled all the time. And, she went down on defense and she got a really great defensive rebound. Again, just hustling and doing the things that were coming to her, got that great defensive rebound and ended up getting fouled and went back on the other end, I think at that point, and made her 2 free throws for the day. So, Sarah wasn't her best day overall, finishing only with 5 points, 1 of 8 from the field. But she did have 4 rebounds and 2 assists. So, while maybe offensively she wasn't putting up the numbers, I thought that play was indicative of the hustle Sarah was still able to give to the team and help where she could, where the game was coming to her.
Yeah, and I think we'll again come back to this in the numbers a little bit, Kathy. I think also kind of pivotal, maybe because of the lack of things they didn't do yesterday, was the bench didn't give us much yesterday.
Yeah.
We got some minutes, but outside of Lily having a couple rebounds and Lexi having a couple of assists and steals, we really didn't get much production off the bench yesterday.
No, we sure didn't. And, we're been talking about the bench for quite some time, not just even this year, but even, since we've been doing the show, this is now our 3rd season. We've been talking about the bench and the lack thereof. The one bright spot I think we do have is Lexi. And she was another, moment I wrote down was around 5.5 minutes, about halfway into the second quarter, just really aggressive on a steal, got the ball. She just basically ripped the ball out of the girl's hands and she ended up getting fouled as well. We weren't in the bonus, so she didn't have any free throws. But again, it was just indicative of the hustle that I thought we saw from the team. Well, even though maybe things weren't going as smooth, like you said, a dogfight or a rock fight on the road in the Big Ten, and to come away with a double-digit win is very important, I think, for this team. But that play from Lexi was at least indicative to me of the hustle that she was showing. But yeah, again, like you said, I think we'll get more to it in the numbers, but she was the only one off the bench that played double-digit minutes. And so when she did, defensively, I have no problem with Lexi. I think she does a great job on defense. I think we just need to see how we can get her more offensive production.
Yeah, and Lily's the same way though. Lily played almost 10 minutes, just a little over 9 minutes. We got to find a way to get Lily getting back to 4 or 5 points a game like she did last year. She just really seems like right now she's lost her rhythm on the offensive end. So I agree about that. So, yeah. But those were to me. in a game where you were struggling to score, there were not a ton of pivotal plays to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jeff, those were all the plays I had kind of written down in addition to the ones that you did. Do you have any other plays that you want to talk about, or you want to move into the numbers?
Let's move into the numbers.
All right, well, let's talk some notable numbers. So, again, since I'm hosting, I'll let you go first, Jeff. What jumps off of the sheet for you today?
Let's go to the first thing I noticed, Kathy, and that was points off turnovers yesterday. We forced 14 turnovers from Rutgers, and we converted that into 16 points. So you were getting a little over a point for every turnover. That's a good number. Anytime you can be plus, one or better on your points off turnovers, that's something a coach is going to be very happy with. And then we had 11, which again, Coach Morin can live with 11, I think, but. Rutgers only had 6 points. I keep seeing some things about Iowa and Caitlin Clark in the chat, but Rutgers only got 7 points. So we won the points off turnover battle by 9 in a game that you win by 10. And again, every little bit helps. And so, but the defense, when they needed to, the defense got locked in and really provided provided that impetus to get them over the top. That's the first number I had.
Yeah. So the other number we've been talking about all season that, was one I was going to watch in particular when we did our preview for Rutgers is the rebounding. So today we won the rebounding contest, 33-30 in our favor, and only allowed 9 offensive rebounds. So I thought yesterday rather, I thought they played more aggressively on the boards. I still think there's some room for improvement. Obviously there's almost always room for improvement, but I think this is a better a rebounding performance than we have seen of late. But what were your thoughts from your perspective on the rebounding?
Well, Rutgers is not a great rebounding team. They don't have a ton of size. They're not overly active, but we did a nice job. The Cassandra Brown and Destiny Adams had 8 rebounds each for them. But the big number here to me, Kathy, on that is after some of our struggles against some of the teams we've played, especially so in the or they've all been non-conference up to this point, but in some of the mid-major kit teams, we were giving up a ton of Stetson, like 15 offensive rebounds. Rutgers had 9 yesterday, which is still for my blood too much, but compared to 15, I'll take that any day of the week. So, but we also had 9. But, that's the other thing. We had 9 offensive rebounds. So we were being active on the glass. And there are times I'm not sure. And again, part of it's like you've mentioned this before, philosophy that Coach Morin's attitude is, you know what? I'll give up something on the offensive glass. And that's a valid philosophy. A lot of coaches have it. I'll give up something on offensive glass, but I'm not going to get beat back in transition because I'm oversending too many people to the glass. So from that standpoint, to the offensive glass, that is.
Yeah.
But the big key, that to me was huge. I want to go to this number. We already mentioned it to a certain degree as turnovers, but but I'm going to go to the shooting overall, Kathy. For as bad as we started, we still shot 48% for the game. So realistically, the second, third, fourth quarters got better. I mean, we were starting to make some shots. I think part of that goes back to your comment earlier, which I thought was an excellent observation that we started being a little more aggressive. We started getting into the lane. We started driving. We didn't just settle for the 3 with that. So, we shoot 48% after that first quarter. You can live with that number.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they finished that first half at 42% and 48% for the second. I think it might be as a big chunk of it, though, is McKenzie Holmes and her efficiency. So, she ended up with 25 points on 12 of 15 shooting. So, 12 of our 26 made field goals came from McKenzie Holmes. I think the number that isn't good is the 3-point shooting. We ended up only 3 of 16 from 3-point, which was 19%. It just really wasn't there for us. From beyond the arc yesterday, for sure. Sarah Scalia, for example, was 1 of 6, Claire Moore McNeil, 1 of 2, Sydney Parish, 1 of 4, Lene Beaumont missed the one that she took, and Garzon missed all 3 that she attempted. So it just really wasn't from deep a good possession or a good performance from her yesterday. And this is something we've kind of seen before. Right at Stanford when we had our other true road game where our shot just kind of disappeared on us. So, that will be something I think we'll have to kind of keep an eye on throughout the year, is to see if this becomes, a theme where consistently we're not able to shoot that 3 ball. I'm not overly concerned with some of the teams that we're going to be playing. as long as they can continue to make some of the adjustments that I was talking about in that second quarter, where, they just got to find a different way to get their shots. Any other thoughts on the shooting or from an offensive end yesterday?
Well, I think to a certain degree, Kathy, you watch this team, and let's go specific here. Let's just Sarah especially, but I think it also is the team as a whole. You get the feeling you watch her more and more, and I think Sarah's played well. She'll have other good games for us, but I've had players like that. I've seen players like that where if she hits that first shot or two, man, she's going. She's off, and she's going to nail shot after shot after shot. But if she doesn't hit that first shot or two, she really it seems like that she struggles. And I'm not saying loss of confidence, but it's almost like she's pressing because she's like, oh, I got to make one. I got to make one. Yeah. And then you kind of start overthinking. Your muscles get just a little tighter. You're not flowing with it. And I think that also affects the team as a whole, not just because Sarah misses, but I think the players are seeing, oh man, and they're not dumb. They may not know the exact stat, but they'll know, man, we've only hit like 1-3 and we've shot several, and I got to hit one now, And so I think there's a pressure that mounts there on players to feel like they got to do it in order to prove or to show that they can. And we know they can, but it gets to be a little bit psychological, and it can be really interesting. And I don't have an answer for it as a former coach, because if I did, I would have solved it. But it's just one of those things that can kind of get into a team psyche on whether it's on the road or even at home. But you hit your first couple, they hit the first 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Then it's like, hey, let's go. Everybody's hot. So yeah, the 3-point shooting is a little bit of a concern, but like you said, thought they made some nice adjustments. And I thought yesterday, I'm going to go real quick here. 19 assists on 26 made buckets. Again, pretty standard for this group. But I thought they did a better job. Wasn't perfect, but I thought they did a better job yesterday of hitting McKenzie when they needed the ball to get to her. It wasn't a second late. It wasn't a half a second late or even a second early. They got it to her right when it should have got to her. So I thought there was some improvement there. Now, hopefully it's not just, hey, it was just that game. I hope it's something that's going to show up as we go through the rest of the season. But I thought yesterday, for the first time, really, and we've talked about this several times, that they just always seem to be getting it to her late. And I thought yesterday they were better about getting it to her on time. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I thought the exact same thing, and and it was indicative of her, again, her efficiency and getting the ball in a good spot and getting it in a timely way. And I thought she was more decisive too on what she was going to do with the ball when she got it down there too. And I think that led to her highest scoring game of the year, right? She ended up with 25 points on, again, that 12 of 15 shooting, and 8 rebounds. So just a really great game for McKenzie all around. Before we jump into like our game ball and Graceberger hardest worker, Jeff, I did want to talk a little bit more here in the number section about the bench. So we only had 3 people come in off of the bench to play. The most minutes, again, was Lexi Bargesser at 12 minutes. Only person who came in off the bench with double digits. Lene Beaumont came in for 4 and Lily came in for 9 minutes. But, that led to 3 of our starters, Chloe Moore McNeil, Sarah, and Sydney Parish, all playing 37 minutes. And, that's not something we were hoping to see in this game. I was really hoping when we got into Big Ten play, through some of these games at least, and I understand when we get to maybe the even higher competition like Iowa and the Ohio States and others, that we're not going to be able to play or bench or be, very deep into it. I was hoping to see more of them yesterday, and it just wasn't there, even from the 3 that came in. So what are your thoughts on overall though on the bench, maybe yesterday or even bigger picture?
It kind of seems we're going back into the pattern where Coach Moore, and as we get deeper into the season, I hate to say loses trust in them, but she's I think her mindset is if her veterans mess up, if her veterans lose a game, then it's easier for them to take the heat. Sydney's been around, McKenzie's been around. If they don't play well, it's easier for them. I think sometimes maybe she won't ever, I don't know if she'll ever say this outwardly, but I think to a certain degree, she thinks it's a way to kind of protect them, that nobody's going to blame them. And a fan base that's become pretty in tune with what's going on and expects good performances and winning, you don't really want your freshmen to feel like they, in the fan base, that they've let the team down, let the fan base down. And therefore, you kind of get some fans questioning whether or not what they're doing. I hope that's not it, but I just wonder if there's a little bit of that. But I think, again, the other part about this is the pace wasn't as up and down yesterday as we've seen in some games. I mean, it wasn't that kind of breakneck pace. But yeah, I'm not sure that, we want those three playing 37 plus minutes. Mac only played 30, so at least we were managing her a little bit. But I'm with you. I just think we need to find a way to get a few more minutes here for Lene. I really think Lene, especially, maybe Jules, need to get some minutes. But they have. But again, here's the catch-22. They've got to do something when they're out there. And again, it's hard. For example, let's take Lene for example. 4 minutes. She missed her only shot, but it's hard to put up something in 4 minutes. Unless you're really just trying to go get for yourself, And so it's hard to, necessarily, put up a lot of crooked numbers. So they're calling that, that kind of classic catch-22. I was thinking about this earlier today. The age old, well, I always heard this when I was a JV coach. Well, we like what you're doing, but you've never been a varsity coach. So we need somebody with experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience if nobody will give me a chance? And that's, and I think there's a lot of that in life. I mean, we've all ran into some of that, not just in basketball, not just in education. I think we run into that, it's kind of like the age, when you're a young person, well, how am I supposed to get credit if nobody will give me any credit? So, I'm talking about financial credit, so. But yeah, I think the bench sometimes gets caught in that classic catch-22 of, well, when I put you in there, you're not producing, but I don't put you in there really long enough to give you a chance to
give you a chance to produce. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I just overall, I'm hopeful. I'm not mad about how deep we went with only 3 people off the bench. I think number wise, 8, 9 people in your rotation is a good number. It's just the lack of the minutes that, like you said, for Lene, and then the lack of production offensively from Lexi and Lily. It's not, I don't want to get into it today. And at the end of the day, though, we do have to start at some point thinking about what's going to happen next season too. So at some point we have to be able to start trusting them coming in off the bench, especially our 2 sophomores, that they're experienced enough and can start to handle a little bit more of the load.
And let's say this, because we had some questions, I think, in the Discord the other day. I think maybe it was in the chat in the Workaholics, but we haven't seen Charnice very much. And our understanding is we think she's dealing with some type of leg injury.
Yeah.
We've never been told officially, but the last time we saw her in a game, she had a pretty good sized brace on.
Yeah.
Or, so we don't know exactly what she's dealing with, but we think there's maybe or a wrap, some kind that she's dealing with. So that's another thing. Charnice, we thought coming into the season was going to play some decent minutes, and we really haven't seen that yet. So, but yeah, Kathy, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. We do have, Coach Moore is not going to say that, but at some point you do have to think about next year. And also you get to the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure you can win deep into the tournament with your starters playing 37 minutes every game. I think you got to find a way to get them some rest here and there. Right. And I know everybody's tired at the end of the year, but those back-to-back or those 2 games in 3 days, they can take a toll.
Yeah. It's only December 9th and we're already playing, 3 of our starters 37 minutes. If we have this consistently throughout the Big Ten play, I'm even concerned about, how their legs are going to be by the end of the, getting into the Big Ten tournament, let alone going farther. So any other numbers you want to talk on, Jeff, either individual or team level?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, let's move on to game ball then. So Jeff is, for those watching in the YouTube feed here, either live or later, at the bottom of the screen, you can see our scroll with our count. So Mackenzie Holmes has won our game ball 3 times, Yarden, Sarah Scalia, both 2, and Sydney Parish has won 1. So Jeff, why don't you go first? Who do you have for your game ball?
I think this is a no-brainer. We got it. I'm not trying to insult any of our listeners, but Mackenzie Holmes, 25 points, 8 rebounds. As you mentioned, Kathy, 12 of 15 from the field. She was 1 of 1 at the free throw line. By the way, that's not a number we mentioned yesterday. We were not very good at the free throw line. 1 assist and a steal and 1 block. So I'm going Mackenzie.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me. That is a no-brainer. Again, it was her highest point output of the year so far, 25 points, and just very, very efficient again, as we've mentioned a couple of times. Had the 8 rebounds and a block. So, slowly moving her way up. She's now under 300 points behind Tyra Buss. So she's averaging 19 points per game at this point now, and just under a double-double with around 7 rebounds per game as well. So, she's just having a nice year again already. And, watching that lottery show for the WNBA, they mentioned her a couple names in terms of, people they expect to go high in the draft. So I think she keeps playing like this. I think it's going to do a lot for the team as well as for her future. So easy. Yeah. Game ball for me.
And Kathy, real quick, I want your thoughts, because I just felt like it was McKenzie's best overall game. I know she may have had some other games where she played well, but it just felt like yesterday was finally, just like I said, I think part of it was because we got her the ball on time, but I just felt like she had her best game of the year, not just scoring, but just overall.
I do too. Yeah, I did. I don't even think she and then only 1 turnover too. We've seen that before. Every once in a while we say she gets some happy feet, but I thought her footwork was on point. I thought her defense for the most part was pretty good, although they did have one of their players kind of eating us up a little bit in the second half down low, but overall 0 problems with any play from McKenzie on either end of the court. All right. Well, let's move on then to the Grace Berger hardest worker. So again, on the bottom of the screen, you can see the scroll, and we've had a number of people get to the Grace Berger hardest worker this year. We've had 2 for Lexi Bargesser, 2 for McKenzie Holmes, and 2 for Sydney Parish. And then Lene Beaumont and Lily Meister each have 1. So Jeff, again, why don't you go first? Who did you write down for your hardest worker from yesterday?
I'm going to go with Sydney Parish here, because you mentioned earlier, like in that, what you had is the notable or the banner moment where she had put up and got a rebound, missed the shot, McKenzie went and got it. But Sydney Parish yesterday, you look at her game, she had a double-double, 14. I mean, if Mac doesn't have her game, we're talking about this young woman being player of the game, being game ball. But Sydney Parish, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. All right. And a block shot. And even more importantly for me, we didn't talk really about this as well.
2 fouls.
She only had 2 fouls. Exactly. You knew where I was going.
Yep.
And so Sydney gets my hardest worker.
Yes, I will make that unanimous. And we've got a vote in our workaholics here as well for Sydney, a couple for Sid as well. Yeah. Overall, I think she's just really come on the last few games. And this is such a great duo we're seeing, I think, between McKenzie Holmes and Sydney Parish. In fact, our last 3 games, we've had McKenzie Holmes for game ball, and Sydney Parish has won our last 3 Grace Berger hardest worker. And so I think, I had mentioned when I was down in Fort Myers, in between timeouts, Sydney had gotten, I think, her 4th foul in that second game against Princeton. She went and talked to the officials and asked what they're doing. And I feel like it's gotten better since then. Like maybe she took that feedback and she's been really working on it. And to your point, only 2 fouls yesterday. I thought she played just a really good game. And to your point with McKenzie having probably her best game all year, I think this was probably one of Sydney's best games this year as well, if not her best game. I just think there was a nice performance from the 2 of them. Again, not discounting, we did have 2 other starters in double digits in terms of scoring, with Yarden and Chloe with both 11. And we should mention too, by the way, Chloe Moore McNeil had 7 assists. So, just those 4 in particular, I think played a really great game. So honorable mention to Chloe as well with her 7 assists. That we, it's one of those statistics that are quietly underappreciated. And I want to make sure we have, a shout out for her getting 7 of those 19. But to me, all around, I think Sydney had a great hustle on both ends of the floor, similar to what we saw with McKenzie.
And kind of a typical Chloe game from last year, 7 assists, 1 turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. So really taking care of the ball and sharing the ball well for us. So, I think Chloe's doing a pretty nice job overall at that point guard position. Anything else, Jeff, we haven't touched on in this game? Any other specific player? I think we've talked about almost everyone that got in and played at this point. So any final thoughts from you on this game overall, with our first Big Ten win on the road by double digits against Rutgers?
You went on the road and got the W. Again, was it pretty? No. Was it our best effort in terms of execution? I thought effort for the most part was pretty decent yesterday. Kids were getting after it, they didn't make shots at times. And
Yep.
and again, everybody's going to have breakdowns here and there. But I thought they really were getting. I thought they played hard. I thought they were getting after it. Just didn't make shots. So, but you go out on the road in the Big Ten, you get a win, and Rutgers is going to do this, I think, to some teams at their place. They're not an easy team because they just kind of at times. And I think we saw this a little bit, Kathy, in the preview. They kind of, I don't want to say helter skelter, but they play at times where it's kind of an unorthodox. They just they'll throw up a shot, they'll throw a pass, and then they're also going to take some chances defensively. And yesterday, I thought we handled the ball pretty well, took care of it. But I just get the road W. That's all that mattered yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I echo everything you say. It's maybe not going to be as pretty and authoritative, if that's the word I'm looking for, of wins as maybe we saw last year. But a win is a win, and again, it's double digits. So maybe we're expecting them to go in and win by 15 or whatever we thought was going to happen. But it was a road environment. You're not at home. You're not going to be as comfortable shooting or in your routine or any of that type of thing. And again, they're still finding their way without Grace. I'm pretty happy with this win. And just as a side point too, we didn't talk much about the defense, but they did hold Rutgers at home to only 56 points. Rutgers is averaging around 77 points per game. So we kept Rutgers almost 20 points under their average for the year. So defensively, I thought it was actually a fairly good effort too.
Right.
Cool. All right. So in terms of what's next for both us and the team, as we kind of wrap up today's show, upcoming game is not until Monday, December 18th, when the Hoosiers will return to action, hosting the University of Evansville Purple Aces. So exciting kind of in-state matchup on that. We will not be previewing that game today. Instead, Jeff and I will be coming back to talk with you all on Wednesday evening. And in that time, we will preview Evansville at that point in time. So let me pause for a second. We can listen to a little Bob Thompson and wrap everything up. All right. So as we kind of talk about what next, I already mentioned Jeff and I will be back on Wednesday to preview Evansville. We will be going live if you want to come and chat along with us in the Workaholics on YouTube, and that will be at 8 Eastern or 7 Central. If you have any questions for us, if you're in our private Substack, we'd love for you to shoot us a message and tell us what questions you'd like for us to address in addition to previewing Evansville. You can also send us a message out on Twitter or X, or as well if you still like that medium for choice as well. Other programming notes: Assembly Call Radio will return on Thursday nights at their usual time to talk about the men's basketball program. Ooh. I mentioned we're at YouTube, so if you want to come see us do the show live and be part of our live chat, make sure you subscribe to that channel at youtube.com/@, that's the @ symbol, @Back Home Network. You can also be part of our private community as well. Find more at assemblycall.substack.com. You can join there for free and see if you like it and like the content. Jeff and I are out talking about women's basketball with a lot of other people, but there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of men's basketball, the football program. Our friend Ari does a great job of keeping us updated on all of the other sports like soccer and things of that nature. So it's really a great place to be. So if you haven't already, go to assemblycall.substack.com and check that out. Special thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing our logos. A big thank you to Bob Thompson for the music you heard throughout the broadcast. And most of all, thank you all for listening. And we'll be back to talk IU hoops again with you soon on Wednesday. But until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers. All right. Good.
Good show.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice win for them. I felt better after talking through than I think I did immediately following the game. So sometimes you need some time to think about it. So maybe it's good we didn't go live right
Hey,
away.
no offense. It was still going to be a better show. Even if we'd been live yesterday, it was going to be a better show than the guys over on AC radio and on AC had, because that game was just, I didn't
You
even get to
can't
see
get
any of
that.
that game live,
No.
but it was like, oh my goodness, what the heck? I was watching it online in terms of following the stats and stuff. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But
Right.
yeah, it was ugly. So, but yeah, so a good show, and I appreciate everybody being here in the Workaholics. You guys are awesome.
Interesting conversation going on in the chat tonight around Caitlin Clark and people betting if she'll come or not, or stay in school when we're here. She does have her COVID year. Interesting one side note. Everyone's talking about her NIL. Those deals don't go away because she goes to pro. So I just want everyone to remember that, even though she might be making quite a bit of money. I think I heard around $2 million right now in her NIL deals. It's not like State Farm's going to pull those and say, nope, you're not in school anymore. I'm taking that away, right? That all stays. And I know the WNBA maybe doesn't have the coverage, but I think a big part of the reason we have so much coverage with college women's basketball is because of her. And I think she'll bring a lot of the coverage to the WNBA. And I think you'll see viewership of that rocket as well. But, we saw Leah Boston and others transition from college into WNBA and making quite a bit of advertisement money. So,
and I was one who mentioned about the NIL money, but I just think you also have to figure in here again, her NIL, some of her NIL money is I'm sure being banked away, but you have to factor in a little bit of an injury risk. You know that, if something happens, and I shouldn't say that. I'm going to stop before I say it, because I would assume she is a very smart young lady, that somewhere they've got an insurance policy on her, a Lloyd's of London type policy, because a lot of athletes do that now.
Right.
They have that kind of policy that will get them any, future earnings that they might lose from an injury. But she does have that issue, and not her per se, but any athlete does. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, but but she, so do you want to, if you have a good year this year, if you go back to the Final Four, win or lose, does that play a factor into her decision of, what, I've done everything I can pretty much here except win a national title.
Right.
What do I lose if something happens to me trying to come back here one more year compared to if I go to the professional level? And more than likely, she's going to go play in Europe or something too, because again, the WNBA, there are very few of those WNBA players who are just doing nothing else during the season, unless she does some TV. Maybe she, find a way to do that.
That's what I think Aaliyah Boston is doing right now during her off season. I don't think she's playing, right? I
don't think so.
Been doing more TV stuff. I think, to your point, I really think a big factor, and an interesting one too, is she probably knows if she enters the draft, she's probably going to get picked by the Fever at this point. Does she feel like that's going to be a good fit for her too? In terms of geography and team culture and what they're going to be doing. And so that at least gives her another, piece of information to think from. But I think you're right. In my opinion, I think a big driver is going to be how Iowa does this year, how far they go in the postseason, and does she want to risk injury and come back another year to see if they can improve upon that next year?
And I guess from a selfish standpoint, and it's easy for me to say it that way, but if she doesn't catch Kelsey Plum this year, how important is that to her to come back and be that? But to me, I'm not sure I'm not sure that would be like, oh my God, I got to come back because to me, that's down the list.
But it is a factor. I just think there's a lot going on for her to think about and to decide from. I don't think it's just as easy as saying, oh, she's going to come back because of NIL, or, oh, it's because she wants to, she just likes college, or maybe she's bored with playing at the college level and she wants to move up a level and see how she does against, day in and day out, that professional level, and to be able to concentrate fully on basketball, right? I mean, she can't do that right now. Can you imagine if she could be able to, focus completely on her basketball and her training and not have to worry about schoolwork? What kind of a player she could turn into? Maybe she wants to play with Aaliyah Boston. There's so many factors that go into it that I think it's short-sighted to just say, oh, she makes a lot of NIL, so she'll come back for it. So
no, I would agree with that. I do think there's something to it though, just because you're right. Most, if not all of her NIL money is going to go with her, but I'm not quite sure the WNBA has the profile they wish they had right now.
Right.
Now maybe Caitlin Clark does get them there, but we saw Kelsey and Kelsey Plum didn't get nearly the attention that Caitlin Clark is. But I can remember watching Kelsey Plum and watching Sabrina Ionescu at the college level. Now, again, they didn't have some of the NIL opportunities that she has. I think that's the other thing with that. But, so we'll see. And it does, if you're a college basketball fan, we have she's on that team that is our bitter enemy right now, our rival. But she and some of these young women who are doing things, Aaliyah Boston, as I mentioned, Ionescu, you look at somebody, I still think Paige Beckers is one that's going to do some things. There's a lot of talent out there right now. And Caitlin gets a lot of the attention, but there's a lot of talent out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, Jeff, I think with that, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go make myself and my husband some dinner here and watch a little Cowboys game. He's a Cowboys fan, so we'll have that turned on here in a little while. So, and have a good Sunday night.
See you, everybody.
See you Wednesday. Bye-bye.